Hello, this is Dr. Alan Yim. In this video, I'm going to explain how to harmonize a bass line using root position and first inversion chords. So, in combination with this, we're also going to be vigilant and pay attention to the standard chord progression that centers on the circle of fifths progression. So here I have a bass line written in the key of C, and the first thing I'm going to do is list all of the chords using the bass line as the root of a root position chord. So, for example, take a look at the first note. It's a C. Of course, if this was a root position chord, this would be a C major chord, and it would be 1. And then you can see here it steps up to 2, to 3, back to 2, and then back to 1. Leaps up an octave so the chord wouldn't change. The next one would be 7 in root position, and then 6, and then 5 at the end. I'm going to not write all the chord symbols yet. We'll choose the chord symbols once we know what progression we're going to use. Now, for the second line, I'm going to write the first inversion chords. So this, of course, was root position, using the bass as a root. Now, if it's in first inversion, then the third is in the bass. So let's see what happens to the chord. And I'm going to write them in blue. If C is the third of the chord, then the root of the chord is A. And we would be using a 6th chord in first inversion. Now, we haven't talked about first inversion chords, but let me just tell you that root position and first inversion chords are generally interchangeable. So the quick way to do this is you can just take a look at the chord above and subtract 2. So like 3 minus 2 is 1. 2 minus, well, you might subtract it. You have to use, of course, mod 8. I don't know. This 1 going down 2 is going to be 6, and then 5, and then 4. Okay, I'm not repeating this, but maybe I should, just so you can see this is going to be 4 here, and up above this would be 6. Okay, and then lastly, this would be 3. If we subtract 2 from 5, we have 3. Okay, now I don't want to forget, whoops, that we should add 6 after all of these to indicate, of course, that we have an inverted chord. And now we can see all the possibilities we have. So, using the chart that we created in the last class, or in the last video, I should say, the last video lecture, let's see how we can progress. So I'm going to quickly write that chart out. So you can use it as reference, but you should have this memorized. So 3, 6, 2, 5, 1. 1 goes in the circle because that's normally our goal, and it could go from anywhere from there. And okay, so 3, 6, 2, 5, 1. So normally you wouldn't write this out, but I want you to have it in front of you while I make some choices here. Okay, so this is what the chart looks like for major, and we're doing this in C major. The minor one, as you know, is pretty close to the same, just substituting the qualities and adding 7 on the far left. Okay, also 4 can go to 2, 7 can go to 5. Now, when we start, usually a phrase, we're going to assume that this is one phrase, so it's the beginning and ending of a phrase. We usually start with 1. Now, we haven't talked about what phrases normally end with, but I'll cross out the chords that I don't think you would use. We already talked about 3, and 3 in first inversion is a very rare chord, so we're probably going to end with 5. We don't want to use any diminished chords that are in root position, so I'm going to cross out that 7. And now let's see if we can come up with a progression that makes sense. Since we're going to end with 5, I'll circle the ones that I know for sure. Okay, those two I know for sure. Backing up from 5, so if you look at the chart, if we back up from 5, our choices are 2 and 4. So we don't have, we only have one choice here. We were going to use this for 6. 6, 5 is not a possibility. However, I could see here we might have a little bit of a problem. Nah, we'll see. Okay, we can go here. So 6, 4, 5. We only have one choice here because we can't use that 7 in root position. And we're okay because you can see that 5 can go to 6, even though normally you would not invert like this. Okay, here 6 does not go to 5, so I am going to go to 1 here. And then 7, it looks like, so we're kind of lucky here. 7, not 2, right? I could do a sequence and just go 3, 2, 1, but that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to kind of stick to what is a little bit more normal. So you can kind of see I worked backwards. And this is the chord progression I think that would be the most standard. So 1, 7, 1, 7, 1, 5, 6, 4, 5. And we end on 5. Now you may say, is that okay to end on a 5 here? And the answer is yes. We'll talk about this later. You wouldn't end the piece on a 5, but you can end a phrase on a 5. And in fact, you could probably end a phrase on a lot of different chords, almost any chord, if you just depends on how you write it. But let me now add the chord symbols: B diminished over D, C, B diminished over D, C, and then of course it stays C. I'm not going to change that. And then G over B, A minor, F over A, and G. Okay, so here's the bass line. And if I add some chords onto it. Okay, so I did not voice these chords as I would if maybe we were in 4 parts. I just played a chord above the bass line, but that gives you an idea. Thanks for watching this video, and in the next one I will show you how to harmonize a melody. Thanks for watching.